They had seen hundreds of planets. Barren ones. Burning ones. Worlds frozen in silence. Worlds soaked in war. But this one was different. It was quiet. Too quiet. From orbit, Earth didn't look like a threat. No energy weapons. No planetary shields. No defense grid of any kind. Just green, blue, and white. Peaceful. Serene. The Garzil expedition flagged it for observation. Not because it looked dangerous, but because their long-range scans picked up something strange. The biosphere was loud. There were too many life forms. Too many predators. On most advanced planets, dominant species had wiped out the natural threats. But on Earth, the threat still thrived. And multiplied. Captain Zevel made the call. A survey team would land. Small. Non-intrusive. Just enough to collect DNA samples, behavior data, and atmospheric readings. They'd done this before on a dozen worlds. It was routine. Their mission was labeled Routine Observation, hashtag 317B. The files were marked with a green threat rating. Low. Safe. As the scout vessel descended into the atmosphere, clouds parted to reveal continents crawling with life. Herds of animals. Dense forests. Swamps that pulsed with movement. Oceans that hid enormous heat signatures. The ship's AI flagged over 300 species as potentially dangerous based on size and behavior patterns alone. That wasn't normal. Most planets had 5. 10 maybe. Earth had more than 300. And that was just from orbit. The AI issued a note. Not a warning, just a footnote. Statistical anomaly. Predatory density. High. Recommend caution during sample retrieval. Captain Zevel skimmed it and approved the first landing site. An area of low human activity, with high biodiversity. A desert region called the Outback. Sparse vegetation. Minimal threats. Or so they thought. 2 scouts, Narix and Havel, stepped onto the rust-colored soil. Their suits adjusted to the heat immediately. The air was dry. Still. Nothing stirred. Perfect for a low-risk sample sweep. Narix bent down to scan a cracked footprint in the soil. He tapped a reading into his wrist console. Behind him, Havel moved slowly, eyes on the horizon. That's when he saw it. Something small. Moving fast. A snake, slender, tan, unassuming. It slithered from under a bush, raised its head, and struck before Havel could react. The bite was almost invisible. No sound. No hiss. Just movement. Narix turned at the alert tone. Havel was already down. Suit alarms blared. Blood toxicity rising. Neural disruption detected. Muscle failure within seconds. The snake disappeared beneath the brush, as if it had never been there. Narix dropped to his knees. He tried to stabilize Havel's vitals, but the venom acted faster than any toxin they had encountered. The suit's filtration system couldn't even identify the compound. It was over in less than 90 seconds. A rescue shuttle was dispatched immediately. Havel's body was recovered. The snake was not. Back on the orbiting ship, the biological sample analysis returned a name from Earth's own databases. Coastal taipan. One of the most venomous snakes on the planet. Captain Zevel stared at the readout. The toxin could kill a human in under an hour. It had done the same to one of theirs in less than 2 minutes, despite layers of armor and countermeasures. This wasn't just a statistical anomaly anymore. This was something else. A planet where danger didn't come from weapons, but from nature itself. The green threat rating was removed. Earth was reclassified. Observation would continue. But now, it came with a warning. Proceed with extreme caution. Havel's death changed everything. What began as a peaceful survey had turned into a high-risk mission. The Garzil were explorers, not soldiers. They cataloged species, they gathered samples, and they left no trace. But now they understood Earth was different. It didn't just contain danger. It was built on it. Captain Zevel grounded all surface expeditions. The crew focused instead on remote analysis, using orbital scanners and long-range drones. The next target was Earth's oceans. Water made up most of the planet. If land creatures were that lethal, what might be hiding below the waves? 6 drones were deployed, each equipped with sonar, autonomous evasion protocols, and full data relay capabilities. The plan was simple. Go deep. Map the life forms. Identify threats. Get out. The first hour went well. One drone filmed a pod of dolphins gliding through turquoise water. Another passed over a reef bursting with color and motion. The biodiversity was stunning. Dozens of species swimming side by side. No aggression. No fear. It was almost peaceful. Then the signals started dropping. The first drone vanished without warning. No damage logs. No distress signal. Just gone. The second drone caught something before it died. A shadow. Large. Fast. The footage showed movement from below. A blur. Then everything went dark. When the video was reviewed, the analysts slowed it frame by frame. Something had slammed into the drone from beneath and then dragged it down. The third and fourth drones stayed near the surface. They transmitted footage of sleek gray bodies circling in tight formation. The Garzil identified them as Orcus, apex predators, intelligent, coordinated. At first, the aliens were fascinated. The Orcus moved in sync, communicating with whistles and clicks. Then, the pattern changed. They stopped circling. They began surrounding. The third drone tried to escape, but one orca rammed it from behind. Another flipped it. A third tore off a stabilizer. The final frames showed the Orcus systematically dismantling the drone, as if they understood exactly how it worked. The analysts were stunned. This wasn't a feeding frenzy. This was behavior. They weren't hunting. They were disabling. The fourth drone managed to climb to the surface and send a final burst of data before losing power. It showed 2 Orcus waiting beneath it, watching, just watching. By the end of the day, 5 drones were gone. Only one survived. It had avoided contact and maintained stealth mode. What it recorded was worse than anything the others had seen. In the Mariana Trench, deeper than any point on Earth's crust, it filmed something moving. Something massive. A creature with no visible eyes. Just movement. Slow and constant. It never turned toward the drone, but it followed. The Garzil couldn't identify it. Not even Earth's own databases could. That night, Captain Zevel locked access to the footage. The ocean wasn't just vast. It wasn't just unexplored. It was ruled. On land, the Garzil had lost one explorer to a venomous snake. In the sea, they lost machines, intelligent ones, without even raising a threat. The crew was silent during the debrief. No one asked about deploying more drones. No one offered to dive. Earth's surface was dangerous. But its oceans? The oceans were worse. Not because of what was seen, but because of what wasn't. They needed answers. After losing a life on land and 5 drones at sea, the Garzil shifted strategy again. No more random deployments. Every step now required calculated risk. Earth wasn't just unpredictable. It was methodical in its dangers. But the mission had to continue. They couldn't leave without understanding how one species, humans, had survived on a planet filled with so many silent killers. There had to be more than just luck. This time, they selected a location known for high biodiversity and high primate density. The Congo Basin, a region thick with vegetation, heat, and reports of intelligent land animals. They weren't interested in aggression. They were looking for structure, hierarchy, something close to civilization, but without tools. 3 scouts deployed, accompanied by a behavioral AI drone. Unlike the previous teams, they moved slowly, quietly. The suits were adjusted to camouflage against the trees. The air was dense. Every leaf dripped moisture. Every step sank slightly into the soil. No large predators appeared. No venomous creatures. Only silence. Until it broke. There was no sound at first. Just a shift in atmosphere. A presence. One of the scouts, Velen, froze mid-step. He didn't need the sensors. He felt it. Something was watching. Across the clearing, between trees thick with moss, a figure stepped into view. It wasn't hiding. It wasn't afraid. A silverback gorilla stood on 2 legs, facing the team directly. Nearly 2 meters tall, muscles rippling beneath dark fur, eyes dark and steady. It didn't move, didn't vocalize, just watched. The scouts didn't reach for weapons. They knew it wouldn't help. This wasn't about dominance. It was about understanding. The AI drone recorded everything. Heart rate, pupil dilation, breathing patterns. The data was clear. The gorilla wasn't reacting with panic. It wasn't territorial. It had simply chosen to make itself known. Seconds passed. Then one of the scouts, Runhal, made a mistake. He stepped forward. The gorilla slammed both fists into the ground. The sound echoed through the forest like a gunshot. Birds exploded into the air. Leaves shuddered. The team flinched. Every instinct told them to flee. But they didn't. They stepped back. Slowly. Respectfully. The gorilla didn't follow. It turned. Walked into the trees. Disappeared without a sound. Velen let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. His suit's bioscan showed elevated stress, but no panic. It hadn't been fear in the traditional sense. It was something else. Recognition. They had been seen, measured, judged, and, for reasons unknown, allowed to leave. The footage was reviewed in silence aboard the orbiting ship. The behavioral AI gave a conclusion no one expected. Non-human species displays high intelligence, emotional control, social restraint, and symbolic posturing. Behavior consistent with judgment-based threat assessment. No attack initiated. Response suggests self-awareness. Captain Zevel sat back. He had seen species that ruled with claws and fangs. Others with fleets and machines. But the creature in the forest had no weapons. No technology. And yet, when it stood there, calm, confident, it had felt more dangerous than anything else on the planet. Because it had chosen not to act. And that choice carried weight. Earth wasn't just home to predators. It was home to leaders. The team returned safely, but something had shifted. They didn't just see animals anymore. They saw intent, intelligence. And for the first time since arriving, the Garzil began to understand why humans had survived here. They hadn't just endured Earth. They had learned to coexist with its giants. The forest encounter lingered in the minds of the Garzil crew. A silent judgment from a creature far older than their technology. Yet, Earth still held mysteries that tested even their most cautious assumptions. Next, they turned to the savannah, the vast golden plain stretching beneath an endless sky. This was the home of the hunters. The team deployed 3 scouts near a watering hole at dawn. The light was soft, and the air held the scent of dry earth and fresh grass. The scouts moved slowly, their suits blending seamlessly into the landscape, each step measured to avoid disturbing the natural order. The water shimmered as herds of antelope approached, their delicate legs carrying them in nervous, graceful movements. Suddenly, a shadow passed overhead. Nerix looked up just in time to see a powerful silhouette drop from the sky. A leopard. Muscles rippling under spotted fur, it landed with barely a sound, eyes locking on a young gazelle. The chase began in an instant, speed, precision, and lethal intent all wrapped in fluid motion. The hunters watched, breath held, as the predator closed the gap. But before the kill, something unexpected happened. The gazelle twisted sharply, not out of panic, but with a purposeful agility. It dodged the leopard's claws and disappeared into a thicket. The leopard paused, eyes scanning the shadows. Then it moved on, as if acknowledging the challenge and choosing to wait for an easier target. The hunters exchanged looks. This was not mindless killing. It was calculated. As the sun climbed higher, a new presence appeared. A pride of lions, led by a massive male with a mane like a burning halo. The lions moved with the authority of rulers, commanding space and respect. Their eyes flicked over the scouts, cautious but unafraid. One lioness stepped forward, her gaze sharp and assessing. The scouts could feel her intelligence radiating, a silent communication between predator and observer. She wasn't just a killer. She was a strategist, a protector of her realm. The behavioral AI analyzed their movements, patterns of cooperation and restraint. These were not reckless beasts. They were apex hunters, masters of survival in a world that demanded balance. Suddenly, the earth trembled beneath distant thunder. From the horizon emerged a massive figure, slow but unstoppable. A herd of elephants, matriarch leading, moved with deliberate purpose. Their trunks lifted and swept the air, ears flapping like sails catching the wind. The elephants paid no attention to the smaller creatures, but the scouts noted how every species around them shifted, respectful and wary. These giants held a silent power, a force of nature that could alter the landscape itself. As the day faded into dusk, the Garzil began to piece together a new understanding. Earth's deadliest creatures were not just killers or survivors. They were part of a delicate system, each predator and prey, leader and follower, connected in an intricate dance. Danger was everywhere, but so was intelligence, caution, and respect. Captain Zevel reviewed the reports, a new respect settling in his voice. We came expecting weapons, fleets, and war. Instead, we find a world where survival depends on balance, on decisions made every moment. The team prepared for their next step. Earth's ocean depths had been a terrifying unknown. The forest had offered a silent warning. The savannah revealed a lesson in power tempered by respect. But the greatest test lay ahead. The predators of Earth's skies. The Garzil were ready, but as the first stars appeared, none could say what awaited them above. Earth's predators did not confine themselves to land and sea. The skies, vast and endless, concealed their own deadly rulers. The Garzil team had learned to respect the ground beneath their feet and the waters below. Now they faced a new challenge, the hunters of the air. The scouts launched from their vessel just before dawn, their suits equipped with enhanced vision and silent propulsion. The vast mountain ranges known as the Andes rose sharply beneath them, their jagged peaks piercing low clouds. It was here the scouts hoped to observe creatures that had mastered the skies. The thin air burned cold and crisp as they moved toward a large cliff face. Sharp-eyed and steady, Nerix adjusted his visor to track movement among the crags. Suddenly, a flash of black and gold tore across the sky, a peregrine falcon, the fastest creature on Earth. The falcon dove with terrifying speed, an arrow shot from the heavens, aiming straight at a squirrel unaware of its fate. The scouts watched breathless as the falcon's strike was flawless. The small mammal disappeared beneath talons and beak in an instant. Yet, as the scouts studied this ruthless efficiency, a second shadow appeared. Bigger, more deliberate. A condor, its wingspan vast as a small ship, glided gracefully, scanning the ground below with sharp, calculating eyes. Unlike the falcon's rapid strikes, the condor moved with patience, almost regal in its pacing. It landed near a carcass, feeding with a calm dominance. The scouts felt an unsettling awareness. These were not simply killers. They were apex predators with roles beyond survival. They were the sky's stewards, balancing life and death. Then the wind shifted. A cry pierced the air, sharp, haunting, and powerful. The scouts looked up to see a golden eagle spiraling in the distance, its gaze locked on them. Unlike the falcon's speed or the condor's grace, the eagle exuded raw strength. Its talons glinted, ready to strike if provoked. The behavioral AI recorded every detail, noting how the eagle's flight pattern changed when the scouts altered course. It was intelligent, tactical. For hours, the scouts tracked these majestic birds, witnessing aerial battles and hunts that tested endurance and cunning. The falcon's speed, the condor's patience, and the eagle's power combined into a deadly hierarchy of the skies. As the sun began to set, casting blood-red hues across the mountains, a sudden rumble echoed through the air. The scouts froze. Above them, a shadow darkened the sky. A massive creature, unknown and unseen in their databases, descended slowly. Its wings spanned wider than any bird they had ever encountered, and its scales shimmered like armor. It was silent, but its presence commanded attention. A predator born of myth. The creature circled once, twice, studying the intruders with glowing eyes. The scouts' hearts pounded. They realized that Earth's skies hid secrets deeper and darker than they had ever imagined. When the creature finally vanished into the fading light, the scouts returned to their ship with a new understanding. Earth was not just a planet of predators. It was a world where danger was layered. Land, sea, and sky, each realm ruled by creatures whose intelligence and instincts had been honed over millions of years. Captain Zevel reviewed the footage, his voice steady but awed. We have much to learn. This planet is alive in ways we never imagined. Every encounter reminds us, survival is never guaranteed. The mission was far from over. The Garzil had witnessed Earth's deadliest species in action, but there was one question that lingered. What about its dominant species? The ones that had tamed these dangers and thrived among them? The answer awaited them in the next chapter of their journey. The Garzil had spent weeks observing humans from a distance. Each new discovery deepened their respect and curiosity. Unlike the isolated predators they had seen, humans were connected through language, culture, and shared history. They didn't merely survive Earth's dangers. They thrived by learning, adapting, and evolving together. Nerix and Velen finally received clearance to interact cautiously. Their mission: to witness firsthand how humans confronted their planet's deadliest creatures. They traveled to a remote research station near the Australian outback, an area teeming with venomous snakes, massive spiders, and predatory marsupials. Here, humans studied survival and danger in raw form. The researchers welcomed the aliens with cautious fascination. Though the Garzil's appearance startled some, the exchange was peaceful. The scientists showed the team their work: snake venom extraction, behavioral studies, and emergency medicine. They spoke of respect for the creatures, how understanding venom led to life-saving antivenoms, how knowledge turned fear into power. One scientist, Dr. Miriam, invited the aliens to witness a controlled encounter with a taipan snake, one of the world's most venomous reptiles. The snake's smooth scales glimmered under the light, its eyes cold and unblinking. Nerix felt a chill. This creature was designed to kill, yet here it was contained, studied, and understood. The snakes struck swiftly during the test, but the scientists remained calm. Their preparation was meticulous, their knowledge profound. The Garzil observed the delicate dance between danger and control, a relationship built on respect, caution, and mastery. At night, campfires crackled as humans shared stories of survival, loss, and resilience. They spoke of bushfires, floods, and encounters with predators that had taken lives. Yet, there was no bitterness, only a fierce pride in enduring and adapting. Velen recorded it all. The AI processed not just data, but emotion. The unyielding human will to survive despite odds stacked against them. Back aboard their ship, Captain Zevel reviewed the recordings. Humans teach us the value of knowledge and community, he said. They face Earth's deadliest creatures not by avoiding them, but by understanding them. But even as respect grew, so did caution. Humans' mastery came with vulnerability. Their cities, technology, and health depended on constant vigilance. One mistake could mean disaster. The Garzil remembered their early losses, the fallen scout, the destroyed drones. Earth demanded respect for its balance, a balance humans had learned but never fully controlled. The final lesson was clear. Survival wasn't about dominance. It was about harmony, about living within danger's boundaries without losing oneself. Earth was a planet that punished arrogance but rewarded wisdom. As the mission neared its end, the Garzil prepared to leave. They carried new knowledge and a deeper understanding. The deadliest creatures were not just beasts or predators. They were teachers. And humanity, the masters among them, had learned well. They survived because they respected the wild, embraced knowledge, and fought not just with strength, but with heart. The Garzil would return home changed. Earth had shown them the true meaning of survival. It was not the strongest who lived, but those who adapted, learned, and persevered. And in that, humanity had no equal. The journey was over, but the story of Earth and its deadliest creatures, both alien and human, was just beginning. The Garzil had faced venomous snakes, silent sharks, towering predators, and rulers of the skies. Yet, through every encounter, one mystery gnawed at their minds. The dominant species that lived among these beasts, seemingly unafraid and undefeated. The humans. Their sensors pinpointed a settlement on Earth's temperate zone, a sprawling city nestled between mountains and ocean. Unlike previous sites, this one buzzed with unmistakable energy. Structures reached skyward, lights flickered like stars, and metal beasts roared on pathways carved into the earth. The scouts prepared cautiously. Their mission was no longer simple observation. They would witness how a species, small and fragile compared to the deadly creatures of Earth, had risen and endured. Landing on the city's outskirts, Narix and Velen took shelter in the shadows. The air smelled of smoke, metal, and life. Everywhere, humans moved with purpose, walking, talking, building. Machines hissed and roared. Sounds mingled into a chaotic symphony. The scouts' data streamed back to the ship. What they saw was astonishing. Humans wielded tools, simple weapons, complex machines, devices that harnessed energy far beyond natural means. They built walls, towers, and vehicles, crafting technology that turned nature's fury into resources. Yet, more striking was the human spirit. Despite the constant threat of the planet's deadliest creatures, they moved with confidence, adaptation, and relentless innovation. When animals encroached, humans didn't just flee, they fought, outsmarted, and sometimes tamed them. In a nearby park, Narix observed a small child playing near a pond where a large snapping turtle lurked beneath the surface. The child giggled, unaware of the danger. Yet, adults nearby watched vigilantly, ready to act. It was a balance of respect and control. Later, The scouts visited a research facility. Inside, humans studied Earth's predators with curiosity and determination. They tracked, tagged, and analyzed venom, behavior, and ecosystems. It was clear humans feared many of these creatures, but also admired them. The behavioral AI reported, humans display complex social structures, cultural learning, and cooperative problem-solving. They use their environment as an extension of themselves, turning danger into opportunity. But this mastery came at a cost. Throughout the city, signs of struggle appeared, scars of fires, remnants of conflict, and areas abandoned after natural disasters. The humans had lost battles, sometimes devastating ones, to Earth's deadliest forces. At night, narrations watched from a rooftop as distant roars echoed from the wilderness beyond. The planet's wild heart beat strong and untamed. Yet, the city's lights shone defiantly against the dark, a testament to human resilience. Captain Zevel's voice echoed through the ship's command center. This is no longer a planet we simply observe. It is a world we must understand. Humans are not just survivors. They are a force shaped by constant conflict and adaptation. Their strength lies not in brute power, but in their will to endure. The mission's scope widened. To grasp Earth's true nature, the Garzil had to study its dominant species, not as distant watchers, but as learners. And so, the next phase began. The Watchers would become students. To truly understand the deadliest creatures on Earth, they had to understand the masters who lived among them. The planet was alive with danger, but also with determination. Earth was not just a place of survival. It was a crucible forging legends. The Garzil ship drifted silently above Earth, its crew exhausted but enlightened. Months of study had revealed more than they ever imagined. The planet was a crucible of life, danger, and survival unlike any other in the galaxy. But before leaving, Captain Zevel insisted on one last observation, a moment to witness Earth's deadliest secret firsthand. They descended to a remote jungle deep in the Amazon, where ancient trees towered like giants and shadows hid endless dangers. Here humans and predators clashed daily, in a world older than memory. The scouts moved cautiously through the thick undergrowth. The air was heavy with humidity and the scent of earth and decay. Every sound was amplified, the snap of a twig, the distant cry of birds, the rustle of unseen creatures. Suddenly, the team paused. Ahead, a clearing opened to reveal a sight both terrifying and awe-inspiring. A great jaguar, the apex predator of this forest, crouched by a riverbank. Its golden eyes caught the fading light, muscles coiled like springs ready to strike. But beside it stood a human, an indigenous hunter, calm and steady, bow in hand. The jaguar and the human regarded each other without fear. It was not a confrontation, but an unspoken understanding. The hunter moved slowly, offering respect to the creature that ruled this land. The Garzil watched, transfixed. This was Earth's true power, the delicate balance between fear and respect, danger and harmony. The hunter turned to his companion and spoke softly, words lost on the alien ears, but heavy with meaning. He knew the forest, its threats and gifts. He survived because he was part of it, not apart from it. Captain Zevel's voice was low but firm. This planet's deadliest creatures are not merely animals. They are part of a system that demands balance and wisdom. The Garzil understood that Earth's strength lay not just in raw power, but in connection between species, environment, and spirit. As the ship prepared to leave, the crew looked back at the vibrant blue planet, alive with peril and promise. Earth was a lesson carved in stone, water, and blood. A world where the deadliest creatures were not just threats, but teachers, and where humanity, through resilience and respect, had forged its place among giants. The Garzil would carry these lessons across the stars, a story of survival that transcended fear and brute force. Because on Earth, it was not the strongest who survived. It was the wise. And that truth was the greatest discovery of all.